Thank you very much, Ciara. And Minister, you're very welcome to the House. I suppose it's now International Women's Week. We're celebrating it for an entire week these days. But I suppose it's another week of repetition, asking for the same things again, demanding, hoping for equal rights and better healthcare, safer streets, safer homes, improved childcare, and asking often to be listened to in this male-dominated world. And there are so many issues, and also it often feels, overbearing. There's so many issues to work on, and there has been many setbacks. But I can say in confidence that we are moving in the right direction. And you outlined, Minister, an awful lot in your speech there. We saw yesterday huge investment in women's health. You announced the regulation for the gender pay gap reporting. Minister Rabbitte announced the funding for research into gender-based violence against people with disabilities. And you had the biggest childcare budget in Budget 2022. And I know you're working on the next phase of your plan, Minister, for next year, and towards that public childcare, because that is where we need to go. As Senator Garvey had said, that the third strategy for gender-based and domestic-based violence is all movement in the right direction. And, as I said, a lot of things happen in the last 12 months and since the last International Women's Day. And as I said, some positive and many things positive, but some desperately negative things and horrific crimes. I think of all those people who have been murdered over the last 12 months, those people who've been raped, assaulted, beaten to a pulp at the hands of someone. And then we look east to our Eastern European friends and the dark cloud that is over all of us due to Russian aggression and the greed and the lies towards Russia, towards its neighbour. And I cannot stop thinking about those Ukrainian families inside and outside Ukraine, to the mothers who are holding themselves together, they're holding their families together, their babies, their children, their husbands and their partners. And everyone suffers and feels the pain of war and violence. But it's mostly women who help to make those homes out of the most desperate of situations. And when peace reigns again, it's usually women who put the families back together, who build up people again. And it's usually women who are the backbone of those communities, who build and make things back to some sort of normal. And we're standing here, everything to me these days seems so small. Absolutely everything. When you see an entire country being destroyed by a man who has simply no regard for any life, only his own, no regard for the rule of law, only his own, no regard to decency, no regard to the utter destruction and pain that he is inflicting on people. And when you look at the beautiful wee faces and all the wee children and the mothers and the fathers struggling to bear the weight and the war, of the weight of the horror and the pain, just trying to simply stay alive. And I can't even comprehend how they're not breaking under this. And they still stand there with courage and conviction, and they're with their children, they're protecting their children for the love of their family and the love of their country. And I can't even imagine what it's like to send off a child off to war, or to go to war yourself, to leave your husband or wife and either fight for your country or fight for your life, or to find sanctuary. And doesn't all our privilege here in this beautiful room seems almost obnoxious? We seem so detached, and I feel so useless. In so many countries, we couldn't prevent one. We couldn't protect one. And it is all consuming, it is all devastating and heartbreaking. I'm only watching it. I'm only trying to explain it to my children. I'm only trying to explain it to myself. So I suppose in the fact peace will be won, it'll be won by men and women, and not to make sure that no woman will be left behind. I suppose this year's theme is break the bias, and I'll speak on that very briefly. And I think we have to break the bias within us first. Be confident in our uniqueness, in our difference, our individuality of who we are as women. And women all around the world are held back by the bias that is ingrained in us by centuries of patriarchy. Every single day I meet that bias, and I also have to break it in me. And for example, like, I leave my children at 7 o'clock in the morning and I don't see them until the next morning for a little while before I leave again. It can be so hard and so soul-shattering. But ironically, often when men are working away from home and working those long hours, those long days, not getting to see their children, he's often seen as a good provider, a good worker, good father, a decent man, working all those hours to provide. But when women do it, they're sometimes perceived as a bad mother, a bad parent, not providing what a mother should provide. And I can tell you, it's hard enough to leave my 4 boys at home without that unconscious bias within me and it coming from the society as well. I suppose next year I want, maybe we could stand here, and maybe before next year would be a great day, to we actually look towards a real gender equality, and because that's necessary to bring both men and women. And I want my male colleagues not to give us platitudes and not recognise the difficulties and the barriers that we face. I want them to come in here into the other 2 houses on the radio and tell us what they are they're planning to do to change the norms, make it better for all of us. We are humans on this land, and we need to be supporting each other. And what can men do? What can they do to challenge the norm, break the bias that men need to be strong, not weak, not be brave, be the breadwinner, not stay at home with his children? Things are changing, but we need to support each other, challenge those gender-based norms, because we all need to be permitted to show our strength, show our weaknesses, show our vulnerabilities, because every single one of us have them. And we need to take the men to lead on gender-based and domestic-based violence. We've been speaking about it for years, but we need men to start, instead of those twitching curtains, to go, oh yeah, your man there, he's a bit of a reputation for beating the wife. And we all know it, and no one says anything. So we need to call out gender-based violence, and make this actually the safest country for women, make it the best country for women, so we don't need all those refuges, and call it out. Provide a safe place for us all to call out our vulnerabilities and to be proud of them, and to allow men and women live in safety, because it's often a really, really hard world for a man to navigate as well as a woman. And I fear for my young boys who are growing up in a norms of now, the norms of now, and I want that to change for them. Gurmila Maigat. Thank you.
Senator McGreehan. My next senator